Hello everybody and welcome back to today's video, day 2 of Inktober. If you haven't been watching so far, it's only been one day, and on yesterday the prompt was ring, and we got around with all these ink pens that you can see here, a few extras as well. Put a little bit of colour in here. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to put colour in Inktober. I have asked. I haven't got anything back, so I'm assuming I can. The prompt ring, as you can see here, we did Gollum with holding the ring that rules all rings, the Lord of the Rings. We listened to the story of Lord of the Rings again. There should be a link to what I was listening to down below in the comment section. If there isn't, it should be in the description, and if I haven't done it, then I do apologize. That means I'll do it after today's live stream, because I will be listening to some more stories today, because we are on day 2, and day 2 is day 2's prompt is mindless. Now, I couldn't think whether I wanted to do a mindless drawing of, say, the Marvel character in the Marvel thing there. I was going to write it up the top here, and so day 2, mindless. Yeah, so I couldn't think whether I wanted to just like a brain, something like that, or do somebody sort of sitting there drooling with the mindless thoughts of nothingness, looking at either a television or looking at something, playing a computer game, being in VR, something like that. But so I was thinking a few times, and I was like, maybe I could do a combination of two, because I wanted to do something VR-y, or somebody sitting in a VR type thing. As you know, guys, I do like myself a bit of VR. I like to play a few games, but I also really like to create in VR. There is a few things up in the VR playlist if you want to go and check that one out, guys. Most of them have been edited now, but a lot of them are live, like I am right now. Will be another one coming, because I'm building. I can't really mute the camera, but I'm building the room I'm sitting in VR for you guys to check out. As soon as it's finished, it will be available. I will do some more live streams with that one, because I enjoyed your comments and you guys joining in as much as possible. But that's enough of that. We are on Inktober today, and we're on day 2, and we're going to be using nothing but ink. No pencils will be used at all in this whole month, as it is the month of Inktober. Every single day of this month has a different prompt, and today we're doing mindless. Like I said, I thought I'd do a VR thing. I'm not going to put anything down, because as soon as I start putting something down, that is it. You're going to start. So, yeah, I was thinking of doing something in the VR, but their body's completely motionless, and they're almost a little bit mindless inside a thing called the Mindless Ones. If you've ever heard of that from the Marvel comics, we've got there's a picture of a mindless one, which is called controlled by Dormammu. I think I pronounced that right. Dormammu. But yeah, if you've seen the Doctor Strange film, the mindless ones are the guys that get sucked back after Dormammu has bargained with Doctor Strange. We're going to be listening to some more of Doctor Strange. I'm going to be using this as a sort of reference, but I'm not copying this one, because what I'm thinking, guys, is say this here is the eye part, is where the VR headset is going to be, and I'll have like a mindless body floating inside it, as if you've gone into VR and your body goes lifeless, and you're only controlling it with your mind. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing with this one. And that's what I'm going to be doing here. We are going to be listening to some Doctor Strange as we get through. Again, guys, this is Comic Storian that we're going to be listening to. If you are a fan of Comic Storian and you do like their stories, go over there. I will leave a link to their channel again down below after the live stream's gone. Or you can check out loads of other artworks in the live draw events of my in my playlist, or the creation station for pretty much everything that I've ever created. Without further ado, let's get on with the playlist in the background. I'm going to start doodling. But you guys are more than welcome to leave me a comment in the comment section as I try to figure this out. The reason I'm listening to something, guys, is because I don't think I'm going to be able to concentrate too much with using a pen and not make mistakes. So what I'll do is I'll listen to that and I'll talk partially through, because this is not a how-to video. This is just me joining in with Inktober.
Magic is gone, destroyed by a technological group out to literally wipe it out of existence. Can Stephen Strange save it?
Now, I'm hoping it's got something to do with the mindless one. It does advertise it does. So if this doesn't have anything mindless, if you guys want to check out and send me some stuff to do with mindless, let me know, and I'll get that stuck on and listen to.
And all art is owned by its respective companies. This is a continuation from our last Stephen Strange storyline, where you can find the link on the screen right now and down below. The cost of magic. When we last left off, Dr. Strange had discovered that there was something consuming magic across the various dimensions, and it had managed to defeat every other sorcerer supreme. He then looked deep down into it to discover the Empirical, a technological race hell-bent on destroying magic. And after he used Atlantean black magic to destroy all of the Empiricals on the planet, he discovered he'd only touched the tip of the iceberg as the leader got out of his mothership. And then he blasted Strange with his eye lasers. Magic is draining from the world, and there is nothing that Stephen can do to stop it. Magic around the world is feeling the effects from the city within Kunlun bursting into flames to Thor weeping up in the heavens. Even a Ghost Rider is screaming out. Every individual tied to the magic is feeling the lack of its presence. Magic is dying, and Stephen has no means of saving it left. And with his eyes bleeding from the final spell, Stephen gets up and he looks at his enemy in the eye. He then allows the house's defenses to kick in as the trees and the shrubberies attack the Empirical. And he leaps into combat against this threat.
Beginning, and we've started. Again, we'll be doing this every single day in this month, no matter what day it is. It'll be Saturdays, Sundays, because normally I only do Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays when I'm doing live artwork, as I'm drawing it, and I always use pencil, but we're not this week because we're using my pens.
Some form of cloaking technology. The normal civilians aren't acting like there are hundreds of robots wandering the streets. Back with Stephen Strange, he throws cars and takes punches, but it's not enough. So he draws on whatever magic he can find, and he pulls the despair out of the city of New York, the sadness, the depression, the madness that is New York, and he throws it at the Imperator, the leader of the Empirical. But the Imperator throws it aside. Speak not to me of despair, little wizard. I was forged in it. And he smacks Dr. Strange down. So using the last of the magic in his cloak, he wraps up the Imperator, and he reaches down into the very earth itself. And he draws on the last of the magic, the very little in the earth's core. And he reaches down into the depths, and he rises. No more magic, Dr. Strange. Magic's final hour has come. But Dr. Strange has become magic as he stands above the Imperator. Really? Magic says otherwise. Abracadabra, you son of a bitch. And boom! He hits the Imperator with everything. Over and over, he swings with the magic, thinking to himself, to not think, just punch. Punch until the thing I'm punching isn't moving anymore. It doesn't matter if I die or explode or whatever. Just so long as magic is safe. Just so long as there is something left. Somewhere. Please.
Got a dude in his head in his VR set.
This is not a time when the hero wins. As Strange collapses onto the ground.
Again, I'm trying to go for a mindless sort of look.
Gone. The Imperator gets up and he tears Strange's cloak in half. And he tells his robots, burn them all. The Imperator was a member of a race of technological individuals, and they were subjected to people using magic over them to control them. His family was placed into jeopardy, and his parents were worried for him. But it was the robots that carried the Imperator as a child and carried him off, away from this world ruled by magic. You see, the reason his family was trying to escape this world is that he was promised from birth to the god that his people worshipped, the beast, Shumagorath. A being that they thought would protect them, but the Imperator was taken off by the power of science, where he escaped so he could come back and destroy magic. He's telling this story to a captive Stephen Strange, along with a captive Magic. But as the Imperator is debating on who to kill first, Stephen or Magic, someone else arrives. A little street magician named Monaco. With his little wand, he struck down the Imperator, and he freed Strange and Magic. Because as he said, with Magic dying, it was looking for a home, and his wand
Really?
Lightning. Ice are combined in Pokemon trading cards.
Shut up.
seemed like a good place. He then sacrificed himself to the Imperator's ways to allow Stephen and the rest of the magic users to be teleported away. And then they all turn to Stephen asking, what do they do now? He doesn't like it, but he decides that he's going to need to find every last scrap of magic in the world. They're going to need it all. It's their only hope. Every artifact, remaining spell, and little trinket. Everything. Stephen begins to crawl around the world looking for these artifacts without the ability to fly. He needs to get around stabbing a knife into a wall and hoisting himself. It's so much more difficult than just hovering. Then, in order to see in the deep dark caverns, he has to throw on one of his new artifacts, the helmet of Razdazar, and it gives him a headache, but it allows him to float for 30 seconds and see in the dark. He walks into an area filled with an orange liquid and bones scattered all over, and he drops one of the magic-eating slugs, and he allows it to draw him to his objective. That's when the I-beams go off trying to kill him, and the Empirical technological monsters have found him. He dives into the junk for protection, trying to think of anything to save himself from this beast, and that's when he finds the slug clinging to the last bits of magic. He reaches in and he pulls out a magical bow and he fires it into the monster's neck, and then he runs for it. He makes it up to the surface, landing on the hood of a car where Scarlet Witch is, and she asks him if this was all for a bow, and then she pulls out a demonic shotgun and opens fire on the Empirical chasing after them. Yes, well, we can't all have a shotgun, Wanda. Then they see the laser eyes and she takes cover. As the Empirical are chasing them, they then see Talisman riding towards them on a motorcycle, shouting, "Here comes Talisman!" And she drives her motorcycle right into the creatures just as Wanda pulled her off of it before it was able to blow up on the creatures, taking out the creatures, the bridge, and the bike. No one really has faith in this plan, but Steven sees nothing else that he can do as he cuts his own wrist and he pours the magical blood onto the map of the world to find more artifacts. Back at Steven's house, the Empirical begin looking at his fridge, and that's when Zelma the librarian jumps out of it. She begins throwing all kinds of weird food at these monsters that Strange is forced to eat, and she tries to make a run for it, but of course, she can't stand up against the Empirical. But you know who can? Wong, and he shows up just in time to teleport her away with him. He brings her to Tibet, where she explains that the Empirical are going towards the cellar, and Wong looks panicked. The cellar? The cellar door is open? Yes, I saw something in there. God help us. Even Strange can sense that it's been opened, and he immediately panics. Meanwhile, the Empirical begin to explore this cellar, the place where Stephen Strange would go to spread out the cost of his magic. That's when we see inside is a hulking mass of pain and suffering, made to feel alive. The thing that was sharing the cost of his magic was Stephen Strange. Back in Tibet, Wong takes Zelma with him to help start his new goal. He has found more individuals who know of magic, and they felt its presence missing, and he brought them here. He needs more people to be prepared to share the cost of magic with Stephen Strange, because long ago he decided that the cellar would not be the only answer, that he would need to share the pain that Stephen was feeling with other individuals strong with magic. Meanwhile, Stephen has gotten his next location, where he stole a skull from a temple, the skull of his old master, the Ancient One.
Yeah, like crap, but it's fine. That's the innest person. I kind of should have made it smaller, I think, but oh well, never mind. Done that now.
Bring a bigger monster. The robots all head upstairs to inform the Imperator.
We'll see what I can do with that.
In the basement, and they don't know how to handle it. He walks into the darkness of the cellar, where he sees what appears to be a child shrouded in darkness. Does it speak? It does. What kind of abomination are you? The angry kind. Your anger does not matter. You'll be purged just like your ilk. My ilk? I'm afraid there are no others like me. I am one of a kind. I never said I was angry at you. Though these minions of yours seem to be a bit of both. You made them, didn't you? From wires and flesh and jars? I was made too, from pain. You were made from magic and depravity. Yes, those as well. I only wish to leave this place and they won't let me leave. There is no place for you in this world. You sound like him. Maybe I am angry with you after all. The creature then grows massive in size, and hundreds of mouths begin to appear all over it as it begins to attack the Imperator. Meanwhile, in Tibet, Wong explains to all of the new followers of Strange that this place is the shield for Dr. Strange, that they are here to take the punches and the cost of the magic from him. They are all here to protect the man that fights.
Sorry guys, there's adverts. I can't really do much about them. I haven't got an audio book for this one.
You think that I would ever find this, Wong?
There will be more audiobooks, and if you check the list and you see anything that you think, oh, you know, I wouldn't mind listening to that when he's drawing, then tell me in the comment section, guys. You can either do it now or do it live, do it afterwards, the live's finished.
He tells everyone to leave right now. Zelma asks him if he's going to be okay after this fight, but he explains he has a job to do. Speaking of which, it looks like you finished sorting my library. I guess you're done now. Tears begin to flow down her face as she hands him the last book. It's all I could save. You're a fine librarian, Zelma from the Bronx, and you're one hell of a doctor. She embraces him, and he leaves to finish this with what little arsenal he's been able to muster up. Meanwhile, back in the basement, the Imperator is fighting with this beast with everything that he has. It is becoming a tad bit difficult for him, though he says this thing will be defeated like everything else. And on the front lawn of the house, the mystics of the world of Marvel stand ready for the fight, to defend magic in one final stand. And Doctor Strange, well, he went right for the finale. He went to the cellar. He starts by launching an arrow into the Imperator's eye, and with his power glowing through the new wound, he sees Stephen Strange. Arrows? You think you can save your wretched magic with a few mystical arrows? You are pathetic, Stephen Strange, even for a man of magic. And crack, he hits Strange into the wall with his eye beams. As Strange pulls himself up, he tells the Imperator, "It's bad enough that you came to murder me and my friends, but you don't have to be a jerk about it." The Imperator comes over, grabbing Stephen by the throat and slamming him into the wall. "Do you feel that? That is the strength of science. I baptized myself in super science and was reborn as the cure for cancer. And that cancer is magic. The disease is you, Dr. Strange." Then Strange deflects the eye beams with his axe. I've been called worse. It's not nearly enough, though, as the Imperator forces Strange down, and then he sees the thing that he created in the basement, the thing that he didn't even know was alive. "Hello, Father. Your pain isn't my pain anymore. I have a feeling watching you suffer, but I don't know what to call it. What is the opposite of misery?" Stephen looks at his creation. "The Imperator will kill you, the same as me. We're both monsters in his eyes. You help me now, hate me later. Please, I need your..." But the Imperator grabs Strange and begins to choke him out while holding his hands back. Stephen quotes his motto, "Never stop punching." And he tries real punches for once, only to hit the ground in pain, because he's really not strong with real punches. The Imperator then stands over him, ready to end this bout finally. That is, until the creature engulfs him again. "The monster cannot save you, Doctor." So Dr. Strange reaches into his pouch to grab a handful of the dust from the Ancient One's skull. The Ancient One already did that, and now he can do it again. And then he throws the dust into the Imperator's eyes, damaging his vision. With a loud cracking noise, the power of magic hits the Imperator with a force that he's never felt before. Yet, he is not defeated. As the creature swirls around Strange, he tells him, "Your suffering will be mine to exploit, not his." Sounds like a fun team-up. Just help me end this. I will, though it will hurt you a great deal. Yeah, well, something told me it might. So all of that pain, the suffering, the despair, it envelops Strange, it engulfs him, it encircles him. It becomes him. The Imperator starts to grope around the basement, trying to figure out where Strange is, as his eyes are damaged, demanding to know where he's hiding. And Strange responds with, "I'm punching you in the face with magic. Get used to it." The Imperator begins to take so many hits that his shielding tech begins to fade, and the world can finally see him and his robots, so with them falling apart at the loss of their connection to their master. The mystics all begin to run inside of the building. The real world people can see the mess in front of them, and they know that this is Stephen Strange, and they all begin to remember the things that he did for them. And unknowing to them, they empower him. Because up in the Temple of Tibet, one person is reciting the words that share his pain, his misery, his suffering with them. It's the only way for him to reach down into new depths of magic. And it's Zelma standing there, spreading his pain with anyone who will hear her plight. And then Wong wakes up and begins to recite with her. And then we see the followers of Strange there, defending the magic, and with everything giving him the power, sharing the cost, he takes one final swing ending this. The next day, Stephen Strange walks into his basement where he tells the Imperator that Zelma saved one book. The one that he wrote, oddly enough, the thing in the cellar. He then places it in front of the Imperator, who is now bound in the cellar. Meanwhile, out in front, the creature that was in the cellar is now free, but he doesn't feel as happy as he thought he would. So he decides perhaps he'll try vengeance instead. Stephen walks out to his friends, telling him that they won, but he can't help but wonder, did they really? Because the world is now cold and dead. There's no magic left. And that concludes the last days of magic, which is a great conclusion to the first 10 issues of Doctor Strange. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to give it a like if you want more Doctor Strange storylines from all new, all different Marvel. And follow me on Twitter at ComicStorian and Instagram at ComicStorian, where we can chat about your favorite books. I'll see you guys next time right here.
There should be another one starting straight up, so we'll see what that one is. It's hopefully it's Doctor Strange, but that didn't have anything to do with mindlessness.
Doctor Strange has an immense amount of power at his fingertips thanks to magic. But what is the cost of that power? Welcome to the Complete Story Search, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it humanity back to you. All alterations in the panels, text, and images are driven copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This continues our last Doctor Strange video, Way of the Weird, and it bridges the gap between the last days of magic, which is coming very soon. This is issues 3 through 5. Dr. Strange just woke up naked in the astral plane. Every one of his mental protections has failed him, but he really isn't sure why. And now these slug-type creatures are chasing him as they want to consume his magical essence, which quickly explains how he ended up here in the nude. These things devour magic, so they devoured his magical protection spells, and they appear to be starving. Looking around for an answer, Stephen sees an axe that looks all too familiar, and he grabs it, slicing through these magical slugs. Sorcerer Supreme isn't on the menu today. He cuts through them, sad that he has to do this as they scream in pain. They aren't evil creatures, they're simply hungry animals. Once he's finally removed them, he walks into the streets to see that these magical slugs are infesting everything and devouring all sorts of magic around the city. Realizing that he needs to figure this out, he uses the magic around him to bring the slugs to him, causing them to chase him throughout the city as they are trying to eat him. Sticking his axe into the mouth of one of them, he rides it through the air back to his home, where he comes crashing through the skylight, still in the nude. Inside, he sees how much worse the situation is as Wong, his faithful friend, is fighting off the slugs as they are trying to devour his real body. Remind me to give you a raise, Wong. I'd settled for a week's vacation, so we're quiet and boring. Done. Trust me, you'll love Cleveland. Dr. Strange then jumps back into his own body, and using everything he has, he launches a massive magical spell, feeding the slugs exactly what they want, magical food, and they all slip into food comas. Steven then walks the halls of his bizarre home until he gets to the door that he opened up that morning, the one that sent out a magical shockwave so strong that it threw his astral form out of his body, throwing him into the park nude. Wong then asks if he's sure he wants to open that door again, and Steven tells him, "We need to know what's going on, Wong. I was going to Fu, the nexus point between dimensions, filled with enormous amounts of magic. Once Steven and Wong step through, though, they find the world drained and lifeless. As Steven further explores the world, he discovers something terrible. Murdered Sorcerer Supremes of the other dimensions. And that's when he realizes that this wasn't a natural disaster. It was an execution. Something is murdering some of the highest forms of magic, and Steven needs to find out what that is before it finds him. Years ago, Dr. Strange learned a lesson. Every punch has a cost. When he first arrived to train, he was told to punch his trainer in the face while his hands were still broken. He was told that he wouldn't feel any pain. And when he took that punch, the only thing that he felt was pain. He then proceeded to vomit from all of his spells that he had been casting. The lesson was simple. For every spell, every punch, there is a cost, and it must be paid. Back in the current day, Steven is paying this price by vomiting in the bathroom of the bar with no doors, and he tells himself, never stop punching. He walks out to see his fellow magic users to inform them that there are 17 dead Sorcerer Supremes, and whoever killed them is coming. He is then asked, how many Sorcerer Supremes are there, Steven? And he responds by telling them, I don't know, but I used some of the oldest magic to call them all to a central nexus, and none of them came. So what we face alone. He then went back to his library, where Selma informs him that the Book of Watum, the one that tried to kill her in the last story, is now empty. And Steven tells her that means that it has died, and whatever attacked it is at the source of its power, in the Temple of Watum. He quickly grabs a fast and disgusting lunch due to the fact that he can't eat real food because of all of the magic coursing through his body. And he steps into the bottom of the Indian Ocean where he finds the Temple of Watum. And right away he knows that something is wrong. The magical booby traps just don't exist. The statues aren't spewing lava, and the place has been drained of its magic. Once he gets inside, he sees a machine that can drain magic. Something that isn't supposed to exist, something that is impossible, now stands before him. And to make matters even worse, Zelma calls him to inform him that all of the books in his library are dying. Something is literally killing off the magic of the worlds. And while the doctor fights off the machines that are now attacking him to consume his magic, he realizes the god-awful truth. His warning was meaningless, as their enemies are already here. A few years ago, Steven used Atlantean black magic, and it was so powerful that it drained him of everything, causing his eyes to bleed. Wong brought him into the deep depths of the house, to the basement, because every punch has a cost. Every spell will drain something out of Steven, and there's something in that basement that allowed Steven to awake 100% refreshed. Steven assumed that it was whatever was in the basement that helped him. That's not true. In the current day, Wong begins climbing the Himalayas, heading for a temple at the top of it. He explains to another person that is with him that he never told Steven the truth, and that he wouldn't be discussing what is in the basement today. You see, at the top of the temple, we see the followers of Strange, those who pay the price that he can't pay himself, and they share the painful sign of the magic that he uses. The cost of his magic is paid for by multiple individuals. But that's when the mountainside begins to take hits, and whoever's been wiping out the magic is beginning their assault on the temple of the followers of Strange. All of the followers drop down from their hovering, prepared to give their life to protect magic, because if they're there, then they know the cost of magic, and they are willing to die. Meanwhile, Steven sends out a message on all wavelengths. He has figured it out. The enemy is the Empirical, and they are here to wipe out any significant magical targets using technology. And while he's trying to warn everyone, It's too late, as the Empirical are already assaulting the magic users of the world.
Okay.
Still down to a tomb, Stephen can feel the magic draining out of the earth all around him. They are taking it all. And then behind him, the creatures of the Empirical assault him.
So we've got an idea now.
Down the Sorcerer
Pause this a
Supreme,
second.
who tries.
This has got nothing to do with mindlessness. Yeah. So we've got the main sketch pretty much done now, guys, before I put any kind of shading, or I don't think I really need to put much shading in this because I've used a different technique. I've done the lined technique instead of like using my felt tip like I did yesterday and many other videos. Use my felt tip to shade in. I might use that one, but I want to be kind of bold with this. So I might do a little bit of shading, get the hang of where shading is going to be on this very, very dark creature creation. And then go over with my darker, fatter pen here. I'm just going to grab my other Crayola here, the thinner pen wire, and drawing that wire there. But yeah, we've got the VR. The idea for this picture is the dude in the middle is sitting in his, or laying, or whatever is happening to the person. Maybe it's you're moving around with it like you do in have you seen that film, what's it called, Ready Player One, where you use your whole body for the game. Maybe this is what happens to you if you spend too much time in the game. You become the game itself. You become mindless and nothing other than a mindless drone to continue on whatever else needed to be done. But yeah, got mindless body controlled by a mindless, because your body's mindless and your mind is getting on doing stuff. But yeah, we've got the dude in the middle, we've got the mindless behind, or the mindless creature, and it just needs a bit of color. Not color, sorry, it needs a bit of shade. That dude looks absolutely horrendous. And so what I'll do here, dark on each line, because I've got the main sketch done now. I'm just going to go around certain areas, make them a little bit more shaded, darker in certain areas. Like so. We will be darkening out this area too, so I'm not going to go too crazy with it. Trying to only use dark inks today. Yesterday I put colour in, but that was because I think it needed it. Yeah, I'm trying to put something there that isn't there, so let's not stop with that colour. I mean, stop with that pen. While I'm sitting here and letting all this ink dry, I'm going to see if I can find an actual thing to do with the mindless.
Austin, you made it!
What's going on, guys? This is Rob. If you guys enjoy my content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little bell so you never miss out on my sexy voice. Okay, so Donny Cates is writing Doctor Strange right now, and it's amazing. Like it's absolutely amazing. The art's okay. The art could definitely be a little bit better. But the story is amazeballs. Okay, so this is
the origins of Dormammu. That
so
one
over
has
the course of the
mindless in
last few
it.
days, a lot of you guys have been bombarding me with the question of what's the origin of Dormammu. Now, I don't know if people are confusing me.
Dormammu is the father of the mindless ones. I think that's hopefully you might find something here. Mindless one is one of these characters here. They are from the Marvel. It's worth checking them out because they are in quite a few different stories. Well, that's generally what they look like.
You're never going to find this origin story. It's actually
that's what I've
insane.
drawn.
It's not like, X-Men Origins, where it's literally just a series of
He's a little bit more around the darker around the head, I think.
Now, having said that, this story is written by Roy Thomas, and it comes out of what's called the Book of Ashanti, Legends and Lore of the Dark Dimension. And it literally just runs over the legends and lore of the Dark Dimension, which is the realm where Dormammu hails from. Now, again, because of the fact that this focuses so much on the emphasis of his origin story, we're actually going to have to add in a few tidbits of our own, because Roy Thomas really just assumes that there are certain things that we know. Of course, with Marvel Comics at the time, they didn't really publish things based on the fact that everybody was new. They would publish things with some measure of an assumption that you already knew things. But because of the fact that there were probably a lot of people who were coming to my channel based off the Doctor Strange film, I'm going to provide you guys with the information that's not really available here in terms of background stuff. So initially we pick up with what is inherently the Dark Dimension. But at this point in time, the Dark Dimension is not ruled by Dormammu. Now, when it comes to alternate realities, and this is especially important when it comes to Doctor Strange, you have what's called the multiverse. It's literally just multiple universes, but not all universes are even. And this is the difference between a dimension and a universe. The Earth 616 continuity in Marvel Comics, the main Marvel continuity that we have right now with all new, all different Marvel, that is the Marvel Universe. Asgard is technically a universe. The Dark Dimension is technically a universe. But the reason why we call Asgard a dimension, and the reason why we call the Dark Dimension a dimension, is because they're smaller than your regular universe. That's the huge difference here. It's really just size that makes the difference between these two things. Now, admittedly, people will use them interchangeably, although I don't know anybody who refers to the realm of Dormammu as the Dark Universe. That is usually called the Dark Dimension. And I don't know anybody that refers to Asgard as, the Asgardian universe. They just call it the Asgardian dimension. But the fact remains here that when you have things where they're simply called dimensional locations, they're basically just universes, except they're smaller in size. So instead of having like countless, galaxies and so on and so forth, you may have something like the Dark Dimension where there's just, like Asgard, where there's just like one territory, and that's it. And Asgard, that's all there is. There's just Asgard. There's nothing else there. In the Dark Dimension, you may have like one planet, and that's it. Whereas in our universe, in the Marvel Earth 616 universe, you have galaxies, and you have planets, and you have stars, and you have space dust, and you have all kinds of stuff out there. So anyway, because this starts off with the Dark Dimension, we initially pick up with a guy by the name of Ulnar. Now, Ulnar is currently the king of the Dark Dimension. He's literally the guy that's ruling it. The problem is that during this era of the Dark Dimension's history, concepts like war, concepts like conflict, those have basically gone away. It's this Dark Dimension has reached a higher level of existence whereby they now emphasize philosophy. They now emphasize science, but it's much like Asgard in the sense that magic has sort of intertwined itself with science. And so instead of having a court of scientists, you have a court of scientists / magicians or wizards that basically take the two concepts, work them hand in hand, and then achieve different forms of technology. Now, what we also have is the realm of the Foul Team. Now, those of you guys who have been around Marvel Comics for a long time and know the super obscure stuff, you probably know about Foul Team, so bear with me for a second because there are a lot of people who don't. Like we said, there are all different kinds of universes out there. The Foul Team dimension is quite literally a universe made of energy, or for the most part, it's made of energy. But energy can be transmuted and turned into other things. Not only that, these Faltinians, as they're referred to, are beings that are basically born by magical energies. It's literally like the energies of the universe just create life.
Oh my god.
Fire. Lightning.
Go away.
And so somewhere along the line, these beings create life of their own. The problem here is that in this particular situation, one of the Faltinians named Sennifer had given birth, quote unquote, to offspring in the form of Dormammu and Umar. But instead of actually craving mystical energies, Dormammu and Umar craved matter. Now, Roy Thomas is being a little weird with words here. It's not as though Dormammu and Umar craved like rocks and so on and so forth, but they recognize that their ability to basically control these mystical energies allowed them to control all forms of matter. And so it was really just a desire by them to explore the full capabilities of their power. The issue with this is that the Faltinians were nothing if not very dogmatic in terms of how they viewed things, which is to say they viewed things to the extreme. They said that we are mystical beings, we thrive on mystical energy. We do not delve in physical matter, which is tantamount to the equivalent of black matter, black magic, within the realm of the Faltinians. And so while Sennifer initially tried to curb this desire of Dormammu and Umar for dark matter, ultimately it didn't work. And in response, they quite literally literally turned Cenifer into dark matter. In response, the Faltinians banished them to the dark dimension. Now, Roy Thomas doesn't explicitly tell us in terms of, the story itself, why the dark dimension was chosen. And in truth, we don't really need to worry about that. I mean, it's not a major plot point. Well, I guess it is kind of a major plot point, but the why is not a major plot point because it's basically him just saying, this is just where they ended up. Now, it may very well have been that the Faltinians said, well, the dark dimension is a dimension where they have physical matter, but they're nowhere near on the same level as us in terms of their capabilities. So it's like sending Dormammu and Umar to a primitive universe. They basically, they'll exist there, but they won't really be able to do anything. The opposite actually happens because of the fact that Dormammu and Umar crave physical matter or crave dark matter. Once they end up in this universe, they realize that it's nothing like the Faltine universe. The Faltine universe is virtually energy. There's really nothing in terms of physical matter. But when they arrive in this universe, it's almost all physical matter because it's so primitive. And so the idea here is that they can basically take things over. The problem is, if they were to go through and try to fight off against these various wizards almost immediately, these wizards would probably be able to take them out. It would be a long and arduous battle, but they would probably be able to take them out. And so the best way for Dormammu and Umar to take over the dark dimension was by way of subterfuge. And so what they did is they monitored and they watched King Olnar for a time and came to the realization that King Olnar craved conflict. He craved the ways of old. And so they went to him and they said, hey, look, we are beings of magical energy. We can show you how to expand your universe. We can show you how to expand your dimension to consume other dimensions. Now, of course, again, Roy Thomas doesn't mean physically consuming them. He means much like the Roman Empire, where they just annexed other territories. And that's what it would be. It would be, kind of creating these doorways, creating these dimensions that are, I guess, these, getting rid of these dimensional barriers that would allow Olnar and his forces to go in, conquer that territory, leave a garrison behind, and allow him to be in control of it. And that's exactly what happens. While the wizards of Olnar, while they initially protest, they say, hey, Dormammu and Umar are not what they appear to be, the desire of Olnar to return to the ways of old overtakes his common sense. And so in response, he follows the instructions of Dormammu and Umar and begins cutting a swath through all these different dimensions that exist out there in the Marvel universe, the Marvel multiverse. But the problem here is eventually he comes upon the universe of the Mindless Ones. Now, in Marvel Comics, the Mindless Ones have a very long history, and in a lot of instances, the Mindless Ones have operated as agents of Dormammu. But the Mindless Ones are basically beings
This is what I was chatting about, guys.
Energy about them. They have super strength, they usually use energy projections, things like that, but they're quite literally mindless. They just exist to do what they're told, nothing more. But because of the fact that they live in a universe where they've been virtually unchallenged.
My meatball pizza. Oh, waiter, your hottest chili oil.
They've moved to the point where they have no direction, where they just go through and just destroy things. Roy Thomas is basically telling us the Mindless Ones are an example of the most primitive form of, multi-celled life, in the sense that they just do things and they don't know why. And so because of the fact that the dimensional barriers between the dark dimension and the dimension of the Mindless Ones have been eroded, the Mindless Ones invade the dark dimension and just start killing everyone. I mean, they kill off so many people, millions in the dark dimension end up dying. And so it was more or less Dormammu and Umar engineering a war. Now, of course, a lot of the wizards of Olnar were killed, although some did survive the experience. But in the conflict, Olnar himself died. The problem was that Olnar's son was not old enough to become ruler. And so because of the fact that Dormammu and Umar had basically silenced those wizards who were able to reveal the truth of the situation, banished them to the furthest reaches of the Dark Dimension, and then stood and defeated the Mindless Ones, the citizens of the Dark Dimension rallied to their cause and said, these two wizards or these two Faltinians saved our lives. They kept our dimension together. We are going to worship them as king and queen. And that's what happened. They basically elevated Dormammu and Umar to the position of rulers. Now, in truth, what Roy Thomas is telling us here is that this would have happened regardless. Dormammu and Umar would have made themselves absolute rulers of the Dark Dimension, whether or not the citizens went along with it. But the fact that the denizens of this dimension went along with it meant that it just made the transition easier. And so because of this, Dormammu officially cast off his human form that would be recognizable by Olnar and his ilk within the Dark Dimension, and took on his Faltine form, which is basically just flames. And so during this time, which we don't really get a whole lot here in terms of what it was that he was doing, we know that Dormammu began to form allies, began to form pacts with other people in Dark Dimensions. For example, he formed pacts with Odin in Asgard. Now, we don't really see a whole lot of conflict between the two of them, and one of the biggest questions is who would win, Dormammu versus Odin. honestly, it's a toss-up. I couldn't argue either way. But behind the scenes, the son of Olnar was growing older. And as he was growing older, he was starting to become disillusioned.
Got a different colour now, I don't know if you've noticed.
But he didn't really have the
I haven't got black, but it is still ink, because this is a Copic marker
Umar more or less
Copic marker, Scribbler.
providing a scenario whereby she
Scribbler.
had intercourse with the son of Olnar. And
Scribbler,
in response,
Scribbler,
she ended up having a child. The issue with this was that as a Faltine, she wanted to see the Faltine legacy continue. But because of the fact that she gave birth to a human child, this ultimately led her to going insane. And in response, she rose up, tried to overthrow her brother, losing her mind. Dormammu banished her from the dimension. And then Dormammu himself began to look towards the idea of engaging in conquest across the entirety of the multiverse. And so this is where Tom is basically telling us, this is the motivation of Dormammu. This is why it is that every time we've seen him in Marvel Comics emerge and become a villain, or I guess fight against Doctor Strange, his motivation has always been to overtake all things in existence, because that's just what he wants to do. He just wants to conquer all life in the Marvel multiverse. Now, in truth, the original opposition that he faced was the Ancient One. Was the Ancient One going against him and basically creating mystical barriers that would keep Dormammu from being able to get out of his own dimension. Now, the reason why this matters is because within the realm of the Dark Dimension, Dormammu's at his most powerful. He literally feeds off the energies of the Dark Dimension. That's why he's so capable when he's there, and it's also why he's such a formidable threat. The issue is that much like Mephisto, beings like that, when he leaves his dimension, he becomes weaker because he doesn't have those energies to keep him charged. And so the longer he stays out, the weaker he becomes. The longer he stays out and the more energy he uses, the faster he becomes weaker. And so this is why he doesn't usually invade the Earth 616 dimension for any real measure of time. But if he were to find a way to eliminate those mystical barriers, if he were to find a way to enter the Earth 6...
So your business is finally open for business. Now what? Create a campaign that gets the word out. That's what.
That's what I'll be doing next week.
616 Marvel Universe.
Lots of meetings going on next week. It's going to be fun doing those because I've got some business. It's going to be nearly, well, it should be official soon. So all my little things that I've been making for Out Upon the Play, all the drawings that I've got will be available either on a website or if you get a link over to Instagram, and that'll take you to a place where you can take a look what I've got for sale. But that will be in the next week or so. So don't forget to come over to Instagram, say hi over there, and follow me to find out what's going to be happening.
By the energies of the Dark Dimension, he would likely lay waste to all things that exist in the Marvel Universe. He would be completely unchallenged. But with that being said, that is the origin of Dormammu. That is the origin of how he came to be. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys drop a like. If you are new here to Comics Explained, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and join the Rob Corps. And leave a comment down below, because I'm kind of curious. We might explore this for next week. I mean, I've already got the idea of doing like Spawn versus Ghost Rider, but we might do this next week. If there's a character that you guys would like to see Dormammu face off against from a non-Marvel publication, so anybody not from Marvel Comics, then post that down in the description. So if you want to see Dormammu go against like someone from DC or someone from Valiant or someone from Image or something like that, Dark Horse, then leave a comment below and let me know who it is that you think that Dormammu should go against. But we're going to bring this.
Let me know that guys, and I'll send it over to them if you like. I'm pretty sure we're out of date on that one. A lot of comic story in that lesson too. They either already happened and been gone.
So when most folks are making lists of the most powerful characters in comics, you usually get the same familiar faces popping up like Superman, Thor, Doomsday, Darkseid, Apocalypse, Silver Surfer, etc., etc. And every one of those lists is wrong.
I think I'm pretty much done in 43 minutes. That's awesome. I like that. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
The very concepts of reality that are really the most powerful category of beings in comics. So much so that mere mortals like you and I can barely perceive or comprehend just how much power they possess. And they are abundant across almost all comic book universes. With that in mind, I'm Will for What Culture, back after a failed career attempt as a Hooters waitress to bring you the 10 most powerful cosmic entities in the Marvel Universe. And quick record scratch disclaimer time. When we talk about these levels of power, there's always a bit of to and fro to argue about, particularly towards the lower entries on this list. So, ranking them exactly and empirically is tricky, but that's comics. Number 10, Galactus. As arguably the most well-known character on this list, Galactus really needs no introduction. That said, he is a planet-devouring force of nature.
What I'm going to do, guys, is put a background to this one. I'm going to put in as if he's in a VR room. But I'm trying to look at it. So, like, the line's going down this way. The line for the horizon. So I'm trying to think where the horizon is on this picture. Do I want it far away or do I want it close? Because we're going to be in the VR room, it's not going to make much worry on where it's going to be.
Energy blasts that are powerful enough to destroy planets, open wormholes and portals to other dimensions and time, transport beings across the universe and across time, teleport, read minds, use telekinesis, reconstruct matter, or transmute it, such as turning water into ice, etc., etc., turn matter into energy or vice versa, erase memories through manipulating souls, repair or heal living tissue, and even resurrect the dead. He's also the guy that gave Silver Surfer all of his powers when he was Galactus's herald. So yeah, pretty OP dude. Galactus is also so abstract that he can't be perceived in his true form. Different civilizations view him in different ways, which is why humans see him as a giant human being in a purple helmet. Number 9, Oblivion. Rather dismally, Oblivion is the personification of the void, collapse, or death of the universe, and he was created just after the universe itself was. Obviously, as a result of his nature, he possesses the power.
I like colouring this. I am not doing loads of colour, just splashing bits here and there to suggest there is colour there.
Sort of like his herald, I guess.
Other than the fixed colour up in the VR system there, but I kind of want to keep that as that's what the mind is. And the character inside is mindless in a VR system, being controlling a mindless one in a VR game. Could be a VR game, could be they've been taken over because their race has gone VR and some race has come down and gone, you know what, you can stay in VR now.
Force is a cosmic force of nature. It is an immortal being that represents all the life that has and ever will exist. It quite often chooses a host to dwell inside, which grants said host a plethora of incredible powers. The Phoenix Force itself has the power to both create and destroy. Its powers include the ability to project an extremely powerful concussive force, the ability to manipulate matter at the subatomic level, the ability to travel freely through both time and space, the ability to absorb many kinds of energy, ranging from the life force of a single being to the energy of an entire sun. It can resurrect itself or others after death. It possesses vast telepathic and telekinetic powers, and it can teleport between distant locations using wormholes. Number 7, the Beyonder. The Beyonder, at least in his pre-retcon form, was an insanely powerful character. Easily his most famous and important appearance in comics was the original Secret Wars, in which he summons a group of both superheroes and supervillains and teleports them against their will to Battle World, a planet he created, to fight to see which is stronger between
Battle World.
He was pretty much
Secret Wars is apparently coming to the MCU, and that's why you got Spider-Man, because with the Spider-Man comes in Secret Wars comes the black suit, not the Venom, because they did that completely wrong. The origin is strange. That's all I'll say.
Devouring Galactus like a bug. But he did get severely depowered in the retcon, so couldn't really put him any higher on the list than this. Number 6, Infinity. Infinity is an incredibly powerful cosmic entity who represents the infinite potential of existence. She is the sister of Eternity, and together they have a responsibility to maintain the balance between life and death. Where Eternity represents all time in the universe, Infinity represents all space, and of all the cosmic entities, she is the one seen the least often, although that might just be coincidence, or she could just be a recluse. As her name would suggest, Infinity possesses near limitless power, and she most often manifests in female form, whereas her brother manifests as a male. Such is her power that she can easily best the likes of Galactus, and galaxy-busting gods like Odin have used tiny fractions of her power to augment their own. She can wield vast cosmic energies for a wide variety of effects, including powerful energy manipulation, and she is almost omniscient and omnipresent. Number 5, Eternity. So number 6 and number 5 are kind of a tie, but because we've seen more of Eternity, he takes the number 5 spot. He is the brother of Infinity, and Eternity represents all the time in the universe. He has been around since before the beginning of the universe, and he is as eternal as his name would suggest.
Maybe I should use this pen instead.
Simultaneously perfectly and
You
at
need
all
a ruler,
times,
though.
and he always will. This powerful entity has no physical form, but appears as a
Don't
male
got
and
ruler.
uses an avatar to communicate with
I'm gonna use my
in the
spoon
physical
instead.
realm. Eternity can alter space, matter, and energy around him.
Right, where's the horizon line? Where is it going to
Any
be?
effect he desires. Like his sister, he can easily best the likes of Galactus and is virtually omniscient and omnipresent. Number 4. Death. Arguably one of the most feared of all the cosmic entities in the Marvel Universe, unless you're Thanos, of course, is the embodiment of death. Often manifesting in the form of a Lady Death, but also
we've got horizon line.
Grim Reaper form. Death is the all-powerful cosmic force of nature that decides who and
we can
what
go start
lives
going up
and
from
dies
here.
in the Marvel Universe. Although Death rarely speaks, usually getting her agents to speak on her behalf, we get the gist of what she's about. She has complete control over souls, and if she wanted, could switch souls between bodies, send souls to hell, leave souls trapped in an intangible state, or do whatever the hell else she wanted to do with them. As well as the ability to kill anyone she chooses, she can also gift or curse, depending on how you look at it, any living being with eternal life, such as what has happened with Deadpool. She is worshipped by the mad titan Thanos, who is actually in love with her, and most of what he does is simply to impress her, such as the events of the Infinity Gauntlet story arc. She is completely immortal and invulnerable, possesses vast cosmic awareness powers and vast energy manipulation powers. And in some iterations, she's like crazy hot. So yeah, she gets number 4. Number 3, the Living Tribunal. Hey, so I bet a lot of y'all thought this guy would be at number 2, and although you could probably make that case, you'll see why when we get to the next entry. But basically, the Living Tribunal is a singular entity who exists across the entire Marvel multiverse. His true purpose, i.e. the task for which he was created, is to protect every single universe indefinitely. He safeguards existence itself from the mystical and cosmic imbalance and transcends the realms of death and eternity, order and chaos, and all opposing realities. Concepts like good and evil, right and wrong, or happy and sad have literally no meaning to the Living Tribunal, and he is concerned only with what is ultimately right for the good of the universe in the long term. He possesses absolutely unlimited power and is able to erase whole realities from existence. However, he has no free will and is bound to the wishes of the one above all. Number 2, the Fulcrum. The Fulcrum is a strange one. He is an ancient cosmic force that the likes of the Celestials, the Watchers, and the Horde serve without question. He is almost as powerful as the One Above All itself, and this has led some people to believe that he might actually be a part of, or an aspect of, or actually another name for the One Above All itself. Rather humorously, he's also the bartender who runs the Vestibule, a funky little bar where Eternals go before they either return to a newly regenerated body or head off to their version of the afterlife. Although he may actually be the One Above All and does indeed look somewhat similar to the late Marvel genius and beloved creator Jack Kirby, that's just a theory. So he did technically have to be included as a different entry on this list. And all that wraps us very nicely to the predictable number 1 entry, which is number 1, the One Above All. The One Above All, not to be confused with the Celestial of the same name, is the supreme being of Marvel and the Living Tribunal's master. He is the only being in the entire Marvel multiverse with true omnipotence. When you think of God as the creator of all in the real world, the One Above All is actually Marvel's version of that supreme being. He is the reason everything in the Marvel multiverse exists, including every other character in this list, and as such, he possesses every possible power you can imagine, and he possesses it on a truly multiversal scale, allowing him to do quite literally anything. He has actually interacted with some lesser characters on occasion, such as when the Fantastic Four traveled the edge of existence and ended up in his realm. He also took the form of a homeless man to kick it with Spider-Man for a little bit as his Aunt May was dying, but aside from those instances, we haven't seen the One Above All that much, but we do know he's effortlessly the most powerful cosmic being, or being in general, in the entire Marvel universe.
There we are. We found out a little bit more about the Mindless. We found out about what this here. I'm just going to pause that because it's about to go into Captain America. Oh no, in Hawkeye. They ain't got nothing to do with what we're doing, so let's pause that there. Yeah, so we're on day 2. Mindless ones, or Mindless. I could have done something different. I didn't want to just do a Mindless one and go, oh yeah, we're doing another comic thing today, sort of thing. So I've gone and done a mindless one, but as you can see, the dude's in VR. I'm going to give you a zoom in so you can see what details I've put there. But first, I have to do this. Whack, snap, snap. There we go. Put that one down. Right, I did move. Okay, I'm going to go that small then. Right, there we go. I've made this out of Lego. So if I do need to adjust it, I can just adjust it. Let's give you a quick zoom in and have a look there. So yeah, we're on day 2, mindless. Put that one over there for now. But yeah, there's what I was talking about. The mindless part in the VR system is sitting in the VR system, almost, shall we say, trapped inside the mindless drone of virtual reality. Because I don't know about you guys, when you're in virtual reality, you feel like you're not in the world that you're physically standing in. Well, I do. Obviously, you've got the sensations around you. But I was playing some certain games and when I'm creating in VR, this is how I feel. There's nothing else around me other than me, the creator, creating in the VR system. And I do feel a little bit mindless, and you never know how long you've been in there. I mean, I can be in there for 20 minutes and I can get loads done, and I can be in there for 4 hours. 6 hours is my maximum time that I've been in there, with a few breaks here and there to take it off, have a drink, come back in. 6 hours, I can't believe I actually stayed in there for that long a time creating something. And yeah, I came out of it and I was like, oh my God, how long have I been in there? It's been 6 hours. And I felt very mindless once I'd come out again. And that's that my brain didn't want to function for the rest of the day. It takes your mind and gives your mind the ability to go off campus, if you like, and sort of pick and choose what you want to experience. And VR experiences are really cool, guys. If you have any links to like a game or a cheap free game or any experience that you guys want me to check out in VR, then feel free to do so. Leave them in the links down below and I'll check them out, because I'm always looking for new experiences, especially in VR, because I love it. And I love it so much that I might go mindless. But this is my mindless creation and the theme of today. I might colour in the VR room, but yeah, he's in VR. Think of that body as it's floating, or it's in a bed, or it's laying down, or something like that. And its creation is coming to life behind it as he's walking through the land of VR. And a mindless, empty space of nothing unless you put some there, which I've been doing, and I've been trying to create this room here, guys. If you haven't checked it out, I'll be doing all of that in the VR as well. I've made my sofa, but I still need to make the rest of the room, which you can quickly see there. And I'll be doing that sort of hit and miss where I've got time to do some of it. And most of it will be live, but a lot of it won't be. Just because it takes me that little bit more time when I'm not live, and I can edit it out and I can put a bit of music in there, so you can just sort of get a fast forward look of what I've done. I have already started it, so if you want to go and check out, that was live last Monday while I was waiting to start Inktober. But this is my second entry for Inktober this week, and the second day complete. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section, and tomorrow you can find out what the next prompt is going to be. Just going to put in a few extra lines here. So let's zoom you back out. And color in those VR lines with a little hint from this color here. If I can keep my hand nice and steady, you should be able to. Yeah, just to show you're in a VR room and it's not just a load of lines around. I say you, the creation, the creator. It is our creator. Let's take it all the way down. You can hear my neighbours next door because they're kind enough to leave their door open again. Nothing. There we are. Just adding a few lines there. Trying to keep my hands nice and steady. Not that easy. You've already got a line. It's like, no, stay on that line. Oh shit, missed that line. Still don't know if I'm allowed to use colour, but I always use colour. There we are. Right on, right on, right on, right on. But going to use this normal felt tip. And done. We are finished. Where's the ink pen lid? There. Yeah, we are finished there, guys. So hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like. If you want to see more and you're new, hit subscribe and click the links that will appear if you're watching back. Otherwise, that's day 2, Mindless on Inktober. Thanks for watching. My name's Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games. I'll be posting this over on Instagram so you get a better look because I know the camera's not great here, guys. And tune in for some more on day 3 and to find out what the prompt is going to be. Bye for now.